It started on a Tuesday, the way these things do. The baby was 4 months old. The Parrot had been in the house for 8 years. Yara Ostrowski was 34 and a first-time mother and an architect on partial leave from her firm. Her husband Theo was a high school music teacher. Their son Conure, named Apricot, had been Theo's bird before they were married. He had been hand-fed since fledging. He weighed 120 grams. He spoke approximately 14 recognizable words, 3 of which had been added to his vocabulary in the 4 months since the baby came home. The baby's name was Wren. Yara had read every book about introducing pets to a new infant. She had set up the gradual exposure plan. She had used scent introduction. She had been patient. Apricot loved the baby. He loved her the way he had previously loved Theo, possessively, attentively, sitting on the back of any chair within 10 feet of her, gently mimicking the babbling sounds she made. Yara had taken 900 photos in the first 8 weeks. Several of them were now framed in the nursery. In one of them, Apricot was perched on the edge of Wren's bassinet and had lowered his head toward her cheek, as if greeting her. Yara loved that photo. So did her mother. So did her mother-in-law. On a Tuesday in late September, Apricot began to do something he had never done. He had stopped greeting Wren's cheek. He had begun pressing his beak, gently, deliberately, repeatedly, against the soft area immediately behind her right ear. Yara had seen him do it once, in the morning, and laughed. Apricot had pressed his beak there for what she estimated was 20 seconds before she had picked him up and moved him. He flew back to the bassinet. Within a minute he did it again. She moved him again. He came back. By the end of the day, he had done it 11 times. By the end of the week, he had done it so many times that Yara had stopped counting and had started keeping him in his cage during the daytime, which she had never done before in 8 years. He screamed when she closed the door. She mentioned it to the pediatrician at the 4-month well visit on Thursday. The pediatrician examined Wren. The pediatrician said the baby had no fever, no observable redness, no swelling. The pediatrician said the area behind the right ear was completely unremarkable. The pediatrician used the words completely unremarkable twice. Yara felt foolish for asking. She went home. She let Apricot out. He flew directly to the bassinet. He pressed his beak behind Wren's right ear and would not stop. On the 9th day, Wren had a low-grade fever. Yara called the pediatrician's after-hours line. The on-call doctor said, "Probably teething, probably a cold." She said to call back if the fever went above 102. She said it would almost certainly resolve. Yara hung up. She looked at the Parrot. She looked at the spot behind her daughter's ear. She did something the books did not recommend. She trusted the bird. She drove to the Children's Hospital Emergency Department. The triage nurse took the baby's temperature. 99.7. The nurse asked, gently, whether Yara wanted to wait for the urgent care wait time, which was 4 hours. Yara said, "My Parrot has been pressing his beak behind her ear for 9 days." The nurse did not laugh. The nurse asked her to wait 1 minute. The nurse came back with a pediatric ENT, who happened to be in the building for an unrelated consult. The ENT examined Wren. He looked behind her right ear with an otoscope and then a small handheld ultrasound probe. He said, calmly to his resident, "Get me a CT." The CT showed early mastoiditis. The infection was inside the mastoid bone behind the ear, in a space that human surface examination cannot access. The bacteria had been growing for what the ENT estimated was approximately 10 days. The infection had not yet caused visible inflammation. It would have caused visible inflammation within 24 to 48 hours, at which point the bone was at risk for permanent damage. and the infection had a small but real chance of spreading intracranially. The ENT used the phrase, deep tissue infection. He used the phrase, if you had waited. He did not finish. Wren was admitted for IV antibiotics. She was home in 4 days. The hearing in her right ear was fully preserved. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The ENT, in his discharge note, wrote a sentence that Yara would later see when she requested the medical records. He wrote, "Parent reports son conure had been alerting to the affected area for 9 days prior to first observable symptom. Recommend further research into avian olfactory detection of pediatric deep tissue infections." He did not say this in front of her. He said it on paper. That was, in some ways, more. Has your bird ever pressed its beak against a specific place on a baby's body and refused to stop? And you later found out why. Tell us. We read everyone. Apricot was back on the bassinet rail by Sunday. He landed beside Wren's head. He looked at the spot behind her right ear. He did not press his beak against it. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he climbed onto Wren's blanket and settled. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Yara framed a new photograph for the nursery. It was of Apricot, taken on the morning after they came home from the hospital. Perched on the edge of the bassinet, looking at the sleeping baby's face. She did not need to explain the photograph to visitors.